Hello, this is Coach Wilson, and this is Unit 4, Day 3. Today we're going to be talking about the Missouri Compromise of 1820 in the journal, and we're going to be talking about how this affected the balance of power between the states, and I'd like for you to tell me what was the effect on the free states and the slave states of the Compromise. Now, today's notes we're going to be talking about the election of 1824, and we're moving on into the 1820s now. And I'd like for you to be able to identify the leading cause of the cotton boom in the 1800s, also its impact on the nation, the major political leaders of the election of 1824, and determine some of the issues regarding the election process in 1824. I'd also like for you to be able to answer this question: what was the corrupt bargain, and what was its lasting effects on the United States? Now, and we talked about the cotton gin just a little bit at the end of day 2, but it was invented by Eli Whitney, who was a Northerner. And the purpose of the cotton gin was to de-seed cotton faster than people could de-seed it prior. And essentially, before you had a ball of cotton, you'd pick the seeds out. Now you can take it, put it in this machine, roll it, it stretches the cotton out, and it drops the seeds out while basically allowing you to pull the cotton off. And essentially, it expands the need for slaves, because now you can pick cotton. But if you can pick more cotton, you can process it much faster, and the cotton kingdom of the South expands rapidly. So you can see here, you drop the cotton in, the teeth grab it, then there's a brush on the other side, and as it pulls the cotton around, the seeds fall out the other side, and then the brush brushes the cotton off, and the forced air brushes the cotton off into basically another little chute that you just pull the cotton to. Now, cotton gins were also going to increase productivity, as I said, and now it used to be one man could clean a pound of cotton a day. Now one person can clean 50 to 60 pounds a day just by themselves. So you can imagine how this increased the need for slavery quite rapidly. Now, you can see agriculture spreading all over the South. Tobacco is still a huge crop. We've never gotten away from that since all the way back to Jamestown. And now cotton is kind of replacing it as the main crop of the South, or at least one of the biggest cash crops in the South. The truth about slavery, guys, it's very important to note that only about 10% of all Southerners actually owned slaves, but there were many Southerners who aspired to have them. Cotton caused the need for more slaves, and owners encouraged them to have more children, because now that the slave trade has ended, the more children they can have, the more slaves they will have. In regards to emancipation, there is a huge push in the North that is beginning by the Quakers of Pennsylvania, who were against slavery from the start, that they need to promote freedom, that this is not right. And many northern states are going to begin freeing their slaves, and you're going to see, especially with the Missouri Compromise, many of these northern states are going to take a hard stance of no slavery. They just had no need for them, mainly with the result of industrialization, and many saw it a violation of religious beliefs. Now, getting to the main topic of the election of 1824. John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, and Henry Clay ran against each other in the election of 1824. There was a fourth candidate who's not, you don't need to know. The big thing you need to understand here is that Andrew Jackson actually won the popular vote by a huge margin over John Quincy Adams and Henry Clay. The problem is he didn't win 51% of the electoral vote. Because of this, the vote was sent to the House of Representatives, where one of the candidates, Henry Clay, was the Speaker of the House. Now, that's going to lead to one of the most corrupt situations in our nation's history, at least to this point. John Quincy Adams and Henry Clay make a deal that if Clay helps Adams get elected in the House of Representatives, that he will make Henry Clay as Secretary of State, effectively making him the next president, or at least that's how it had been in the last 4 elections. Jackson called Henry Clay a traitor and told him he was a traitor to the West and men who grew up in the West, and he's going to dog Adams over this and vow his revenge, because John Quincy Adams becomes our new president between 1825 and 1829. James Monroe had not served a 3rd term, and his Secretary of State ran John Quincy Adams. By this time, there's really only one party around, the Democratic Republicans. We've kind of gotten away from there being multiple political parties, even though really close to this point in time in history, you're going to see this era of good feelings where people are just, celebrating our country's wealth and our nationalistic spirit and art and literature flourishing. and there's not really any political arguments, it's just kind of everybody going in one direction, that's going to really end after John Quincy Adams' presidency. John Quincy Adams was responsible for negotiating the Treaty of Ghent. There at the end of the War of 1812, the Adams-Onis Treaty, and he had helped write the Monroe Doctrine. He was a very important figure in our country, but not going to be the most important of presidents in regards to what he accomplished in office. More so, the corruption that led to his election is more important than what he did as a president. Now, answer these two questions for your notes, and then make sure you get your vocabulary words down. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, I'll talk to you soon.